Hello again, dear friends from Nakoni. It's good to be meeting with you as our spiritual family, and we're thankful to God for this good weather during the lockdown. Thankful for the relief that has brought to us, and the fact that we're able to enjoy lovely sunshine and indeed warmth during these days. You know, some of the sweetest and most inspiring words in Scripture are to be found in the blessings and benedictions which appear throughout both the Old and the New Testaments. And one of the best known and most loved is what we call the Aaronic blessing. Actually, it's the blessing of God, not of Aaron or not of Moses. For Yahweh gave it to Moses to be passed on to Aaron and his sons, the priests, so that they might in turn bless the Lord's people, the people of Israel. Let me read it to you. It's Numbers 6, verse 22. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, Thus you shall bless the people of Israel. You shall say to them, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." This was given at a very interesting and significant time in the life of God's people. The immediate context, if you like, on one side is the prescription of the Nazirite vow, the details of that Nazirite vow, and the need for holiness, for preparedness. And on the other side, the other part of the sandwich, if you like, is the account of the chiefs or the princes of Israel bringing their offerings to the Lord at the tabernacle. One Old Testament scholar, Gordon Wenham, he explains it like this. He says, its introduction links it with the regulations designed to purify the camp. And that's what we read about really in the earlier part of Numbers. And thereby, he says, to prepare the people for the great act of worship, the march towards the promised land. God's people were being called upon to step out in faith on an unknown path, and they had to be equipped spiritually in order to fulfill that calling. They needed to be cleansed so that no obstacle would come between them and their hearing and obeying of the call of God. It was their responsibility to be pure, to keep their lives pure, to have lives that were free from sinful rebellion and disobedience. But the ability to do that, the ability to obey and to please the Lord, were not in fact of their own doing. These things were not by their own power, independent of God's working in their lives. If they were to please and to glorify him, if they were to live lives of holiness, then they needed to have his blessing poured out upon them. And it is just such a blessing which Aaron and his sons are commanded to bring to God's people here. The blessing, as I say, is not of man. It's not a priestly blessing in that it originated with the priests. It is God's blessing and brought to God's people. And it's interesting, it breaks naturally, doesn't it, into three statements. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Each statement begins with the Lord. The Lord is the subject. And of course, in each statement, God's people are the object. And there are also, if you notice, two verbs in each statement. The Lord bless you and keep you. Bless and keep. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. Be gracious unto you. To shine and be gracious. And the Lord lift up his countenance and give peace. Lift and give peace. Let's think about those three lovely aspects of this prayer. Number one, the Lord bless you and keep you. It speaks of provision and protection. The Old Testament concept of blessing was actually quite broad. It takes in God's provision in all areas of life. Physical and material provision, good health and prosperity. It takes in family blessings, the gift of children and loved ones. And of course, it takes in the spiritual, perhaps the most important, the idea of the presence of God accompanying them and His blessing being upon them. So the Lord bless you and keep you. And in the word keep, we, if you like, are back to what we have thought about before, this lovely picture of God as our protector, the one who guards us. Now at this point in time, the children of Israel would not know, could not indeed have foretold the preciousness of this part of the blessing. They were not to know what would befall them in the years to come. But you know, we know the story. Despite their unfaithfulness, despite their disobedience so often, this is exactly what God did for them in the wilderness ways. He did provide for them, and He protected them. He blessed them, and He kept them. What a blessing for us in these days, to know that as God's people we are the object of His provision, and indeed we are the objects of His protection, His protecting care. The Lord bless you and keep you. And then secondly, the Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Light and liberty are being spoken about here, if you like. The picture is of God as light, the source of light. God is light, and in Him is no darkness. The psalmist expresses it in a different way in Psalm 31 verse 6. He says, make your face shine on your servant. And it's the idea of the light of God really bursting upon God's children. To look on the face of God for the Jew was a fearful thing often. We think of Moses, we think of Isaiah, and others who rightly did not dare to look upon the holiness of God. But here the picture is different. The picture is of the Lord smiling upon His children. In the darkness He is our light. And when God smiles upon us, we know that He will deal with us in grace, and He will deliver us from our darkness. Light and liberty. He shines upon us, and He liberates us from the attacks of the enemy and from all that would threaten our love relationship with Him. We know, of course, that all God's dealings with His children are saturated in grace. What a blessed privilege to be bathed in the shining of His face, in His smile. The Lord bless you and keep you. Provision and protection. The Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Light and liberty. And then thirdly, the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. And we might summarize this by saying that it's care and contentment. Now, the face of the Lord is still in view here, but its significance is different. The idea is of God lifting His head, as it were, to pay attention to us and our needs. We can picture it in an earthly sense. You picture a father in his chair reading or concentrating on some issue, and his little boy or little girl comes running in and begins to talk to him. And naturally, he will lift his head to listen. And that's the picture here. That's the idea. Not that God is preoccupied. We're not suggesting that at all. But it's the idea of God, if you like, almost lifting His head to listen to His children, to give attention when His children come to Him. That attention of the Father, of course, is the bedrock of our peace. That care of the Father, that concern of the Father for the things that concern us, that's the bedrock of our peace. And that's why the two things are linked here. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. To know that He cares, that He's aware of our circumstances, that brings such a calmness to our troubled hearts. David expresses it in his own way in Psalm 34, verse 15. He says, "The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears toward their cry." Not as a mere spectator or listener, but as one who intervenes to protect, provide, and deliver in every set of threatening circumstances. The children of Israel would prove this over and over again in their wilderness wanderings, even though they didn't deserve it. But the blessing of God with which Aaron and the priests are to bless God's people is of grace. It's not in any degree due to our worthiness or our merit. So the two things are linked together, if you like, care and contentment. To know that God cares, that he's interested, is, if you like, the basis of our peace. As we finish, let me ask you to do this. Imagine this: the God of glory and of holiness, the God of creation and providence, the omnipresent, omniscient, all-wise and sovereign God lifts his countenance to welcome and to attend to his child whenever and wherever we come to him. He hears and he answers. What a wonderful privilege indeed. Beyond our understanding, beyond our description. You know, words came to me, and you'll smile at this. Some of you will know these lines from an old Len McGee country and western style hymn. The hymn was only a prayer away, so simple but so true. And the chorus says this: "Oh, he never will say, I'm too busy today. Every tear, every care, he has promised he will share. And although he's the Lord of all glory, yet he's only a prayer away." The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. May you know his presence and his peace this evening, this week, and in the weeks to come. And may God make you to shine for him. As he shines upon us, may we reflect his light to those around us who are in so much spiritual darkness. God bless you, and God be with you.